everybody. I'm Tom Bassel.
And I'm Chris Yee.
Today we're taking a look at a little game from Fricks Games called Feudal Legacy. Fricks Games, if you've not heard of them, are probably best known, I shouldn't say probably, they're best known for Terraforming Mars and the Terraforming Mars stuff, you know, the expansions and things like that. This is a solo, single-player only, legacy-style game. Let's take a look at how it plays, and then we'll talk about it. The game comes with a 138 card deck, as well as a couple sheets of stickers that you will be using to upgrade specific cards. So the way you'll start the game is you're going to take the top 10 cards of the deck, and you're going to be shuffling them. Now, it's really important in this game to keep track of your cards, because, see, this card could be a plains, it could be wild grass, it could be farmlands, it could be food barns. So you have to keep this stuff together in the right orientation when you shuffle them. So you'll shuffle your 10 cards that you have, and you're going to place them down like this. And then for each turn of the game, you're going to draw 4 cards. And then you can take as many actions as you want till the turn ends. So one action is you can play a card and you get a resource. So this one here gives me a coin. This one here gives me another coin. And then I'm going to use both those coins to upgrade this card. Now, whenever you upgrade a card, your turn ends. But this one shows a downward arrow, which means I turn this up. And now, instead of this being a distant mountain, now it's a rocky area. Instead of giving me a coin, it now gives me a rock, or I can discard this card to spend a coin to gain 2 rocks. You'll notice that in the future, if I spend 2 wood and 2 coins, I can turn it over. Now it gives me 2 rocks. And if I spend 2 wood and 2 coins, this will upgrade to a shallow mine, which gives me a rock and ore, and it's also worth 3 points at the end of the game. I can also get rid of this to discover a mine, which is card 8485. So I'd go through the deck, I'd find 84, and I can put this card in my discard pile of mine, which can also upgrade. So you're basically doing that. You're playing cards for their resources. You can also, if you want to, you can draw 2 more cards. You can do that as many times as you want. Sometimes you do that because you need more resources or something. But remember, once you buy something, so if this forest, I say, oh, I'm going to upgrade this with 2 rocks. Once I upgrade something, all my cards are put into a discard pile, and I'll start the next round drawing 4 cards, or up to 4 if I basically am down to less than 4 cards. Once you go through all your cards, that round of the game is over. You're going to draw the top 2 cards from the pile, in this case, a jungle and a river, and shuffle them in. And that's where the game's going to get interesting, because there's all sorts of cards. There are cards that might add more rules to the game. There are some cards that when you get it, you can decide which side of the card you're going to use. And the game is going to keep going until you get to the end, which is in the 70s, but there's a whole bunch of other cards, which certain cards will have you put into your deck. And then at the end of the game, you're going to get your score and write your score on the side of the box. I'm trying not to show too much of the game. Whenever you get a card, you are allowed to look at all the sides of the card. So that's not really spoiling anything here. I can see that the trader turns into a bazaar, which turns into a market, which turns into a festival. You're allowed to look at that, and you're allowed to look at each card as you get it, but until you get a card, everything else is kept secret. And stickers may modify the value of cards or the resources that they give. That's it. You're going to play and try to get the highest possible score you can. All right, so I want to tell you a little bit about how I played this, because I played it incorrectly in some ways, in the sense that I didn't put the stickers on, because I didn't know if I was going to pass it to someone else, and I also wanted to play through it multiple times if possible. Mm-hmm. The rules for the game tell you, I think it's like the first 30 cards.
Yeah, the first 20, 30 cards or so. You don't make any permanent changes, because as you're progressing through this, you might say, oh, now I have an idea of how everything works. You might want to just reset back to the beginning and then give it another go.
Which I did the very first time I played. I was like, okay, great, I'll do that. So I went back and restarted. But then I played through to maybe card 50, no, maybe 60, and I was like, I am getting shellacked here. So I went back and restarted and then played through the whole game. I played through by writing stuff down, which is a very bad way to play. I'd be like, whenever this card's drawn, remember it has an extra coin on it.
We're not recommending, and this is not how you're reviewing it per se.
No,
to
I'm
be
just,
clear.
I'm just letting people know that that's how I played through it multiple times.
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
So this is a legacy game. And if you're not sure, the game goes out of its way to tell you it's a legacy. They're like, rip the card up. We're not kidding. Rip it up.
Trash it, eat it, do what you want with it. I didn't eat any cards.
And you could just discard the card. Ripping it up does nothing. The only real legacy aspects of the game are the stickers, and that's something you can't really change. And also you write some names on, like, call this guy Sir Hooligan or whatever you want to call him. So let's get into it a bit. I don't love the way the game looks.
No.
I feel like it's very uneven. This is actually, something in Terraforming Mars. I don't love the way Terraforming Mars looks either. This is very uneven, I think, from card to card. Some of it looks nice. Some of it doesn't. The symbology, though, I'll say was pretty easy to understand.
I agree with that. Yeah, the aesthetics and everything I did not enjoy. Even the nicer looking cards I didn't care for. But there's some that are just rough. But I always understood what everything did. And even if it wasn't explained explicitly in the rules, and I think that the rule sheet, to be fair, is short. It lets you jump into the game pretty quickly and then says, hey, here's a few other concepts you might need to know once you're past those first 10, 20 cards or whatever. But there are a few things that I was like, oh, I can intuit what that means. This card can rotate this way or rotate back or flip sideways or, all the different ways to manipulate that. Even if it wasn't perfectly explained, it's all very intuitive. It's all understandable.
Keeping in mind manipulating, and actually I should have played the game 4 times, there was one game where I set the game down to go eat dinner, came back, and couldn't remember the direction I had the cards in. And because you're flipping them, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it's this way, but I don't remember upgrading that card, so I had to restart. So keep that in mind. They tell you to be careful about that. That's not the game's fault. That was mine. But because of the way it is, that can be an issue.
It's a little bit fragile. Yeah, make sure that you box it and unbox it the same way if you're going to not play through all 4 hours or so of the playthrough at once.
Yeah, the game says on it, where does it say? I think it said it's 6 to 10 hours. I just can't fathom it being that long. I played through twice, like I said, or almost twice. I almost played through and then played through another whole time, and I did both games in 3 hours.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Now, I'm playing pretty fast here, but I also just don't see that it would be dragged out that long. Because I just would sit and go, I'll do that. And to that end, you mentioned the rules are pretty easy, but I would recommend, the one thing I was like, I can just keep drawing 2 cards? It seems odd. But you don't want to ever draw 2 cards unless you're forced to.
Yeah.
Because you can only buy one thing per card draw.
Correct.
Or upgrade one card. And so that can be an issue, and it becomes an issue, and this is not really spoiling anything, but as the game progresses, there are negative cards that come out that punch you in the face. They'll be like, this card doesn't work, or now you have this, and sometimes they even destroy cards in your deck. And so you have to be prepared for those cards. But I found the basic concept of this game is amazingly fun.
It really is. The first 10 cards, you play them out, and you go, okay, got it. I flipped one of those over. Nice. And I've played deck building games. This is not a deck building game, but I understand the concept. The next play session, or however you want to call it, I now have some upgraded cards, and I introduce 2 new cards in. And so as you kind of go through that first loop of it, you think, well, this is neat. And then by the time you're 30 cards in, your deck is so different from what it started as. Your kingdom, your pool of resources is upgraded, and you've stickered things, and now you just have so much more that you can do. And this is not one of those games where drawing 2 cards blindly doesn't really make sense because I know what my composition is. I have the perfect pool of resources, but not that card I've been looking to upgrade for the last 3 sessions. I'm going to start digging, and at some point I might get it, right? It forces you to take these interesting risks. I really like that.
I've done pretty terribly sometimes, though, because I'm like, I need a sword. Sword's one of the resources to defeat this guy. I know I have some sword cards. I'm going to keep drawing. After a while, I'm like, good grief. I've wasted some turns.
But it means that you know your composition of cards well enough. And so I love that it doesn't, even as you're getting more and more cards in, you are thinning some out. You are upgrading them. So you have a good idea of what's there. I like that. So I'm choosing to take that risk. That was a mistake on my part because of my choice, right? Mixed with luck, of course, but I could have upgraded this other card instead. But, I really want to hunt for that one.
And it has some cool ebb and flows. Like you have a forest that you can chop down to get extra wood. But then you got to waste time regrowing the forest or converting it into a different kind of land. The nice back and forth. And sometimes they'll say, hey, would you like to upgrade this card, get rid of it, and pull a different card? And I'm like, ooh, what card can I get? And sometimes you get a card and it's like, pick the side. And like, oh, I like both. Which is going to be better for my game. So all this is fascinating. And as I played through, each time I'm like, this is getting better and better and better and better. The bad cards hit, and I like it a little less at that point, slightly, because you have to deal with those bad cards.
And they get more of them.
Almost overwhelming. The overwhelming part of the bad cards doesn't really happen till the last 20 cards from 1 to 70. But it's a lot right at that point in time. And then you're done and you write the score down. And I'm like, what a fun experience. But here's my problem. The game offers so many varied points. There are 70 extra cards in the deck. In my second playthrough, I think I went through and counted how many extra ones I went in, and it was somewhere between 8 to 12. That's not a ton.
No.
And there's a lot of cards I didn't upgrade. There's choices I didn't go. So there's so much stuff I didn't see. I don't want to have to buy this again to do that.
This is my biggest sticking point. It's a fairly affordable game. It's a small deck of cards. I believe, if I'm not misremembering, in the U.S. it retails at $15. But, and I know I've bought some Star Wars Unlimited decks and, boosters and stuff. And I know that you can easily spend more money than that in different card game formats and such. But there's something it really sticks to me. The fact that this seems perfect for a game that is a roguelike game, right? Or a roguelite game. Those are very popular right now. And those you just say, ooh, I got my butt handed to me. Let me reset it and go again right now. Not, I need to go order this or drive to the store to technically have a fresh go at it again.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things in here. I mean, I like legacy games, okay? I'm not opposed to playing a game one time. But every legacy game, the shortest ones I can think of are 12 games with 4 people. So you play through it, and every legacy game, with a few exceptions, after we played through those, the campaign and going through it, I was like, and that was amazing, and we're done. I don't have any desire. In fact, every second playthrough a legacy game for me has usually fizzled out because it just hasn't been as exciting the second time through. Oh, no, you can do that, right? But they're huge experience. This is really small, and it gives me that. I'm like, I want to play it again, but I don't want to pay. Let's pretend it's only $10. I don't pay $10 every time I want to play this game again. And it's just wasteful at that point. I agree. It feels like a roguelike game to the point where sometimes, let's say there's a card that kills a card in your deck randomly, and it kills your best card.
Permanently.
Yeah.
Not for this session, permanently.
And if I'm playing on an app, I'm like, what a bummer. Let's restart. Because that's what you would do.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was playing through and I was getting shellacked. And I was like, I need more of a specific type of card. So I went back and did that. And then the game, around card 30 is when the game gets serious, for lack of better words. Mm-hmm. You're like kind of just, hey, I'm upgrading. And then the game says here, it gives you like 4 different paths to focus on. You can focus on 1, maybe 2.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like, I never see that. I was looking through all the extra cards. I was going through them. Like, I found a horse. I'm like, wow, a horse. I don't know how you get a horse. I would love to find out. And so it's such a huge, I'm not kidding. I think the gameplay of this is like a 10 for me. I like it that much.
It's incredible of a journey. And when those 4 branching paths open up, I like that feeling of, ooh, I know just from the way this game system works, I can't do them all. I'm going to try to go really heavy into one of them. Oh, but I'm already feeling myself pulled a little different of a direction. That's a great kind of tension to have in this type of game. And it would be, I think, just as tense to have it in a more replayable format.
And you can replay it if you do it the way I did, where you write stuff down. It is not practical, and I probably made mistakes.
Yes.
Because I would say this card has an extra coin, and I'd be like,
Someone else recommended you could sleeve the cards and sticker those or write on those with Sharpie and then throw the sleeves away, put new sleeves on. It always leads to some workabout, right? Which is a shame because I agree with you that the actual gameplay is phenomenal. How much theme it gives you in a deck of cards is so cool. Just so much about it is right. And I think it kind of ultimately comes down to form factor and replayability factors.
If this was an app, I would play it all the time, at least until I probably wore it out. I could see myself playing it 10 times. I'm not exaggerating. It'd also be a really smooth app, because it would keep the card straight for you and everything.
Yeah.
It would be really fun. As it is, even though I said the gameplay is like a 10 for me, all these other factors bring it down to a 6 because I honestly cannot recommend it. Because I think many people will be like me. They're going to play through it and think it's amazing and then be really disappointed that they can't keep playing it. I think that, or you might just have a bad game of it. I can't afford a game that I'll have a bad game of. Like Chris said, there's different viewpoints. I often play Euro games. I'm like, I can't do everything. And I love those games because the next time I play it, I can try a different route. Here, I only have one shot at it. Unless, again, I spend more money, and I just don't think, especially when half the deck's not there. If they had recharge packs, maybe, or something, but I don't even know how that would work. It
is the recharge pack. It's a whole new game is kind of the issue because every card is stickerable, every card is changeable and trashable, and
so this might work for some people. I mean, you might love that, and you want that one-time experience, and it is a neat experience. It's a really cool thing. If they ever make an app, I'm first to download it for sure.
The score-wise for me, I'm not joking. I'm going to give this a 6.9. I almost can recommend it for all the exact same reasons. But could you imagine having a roguelite app where as you play through it, you paid the $5 up front, and you play through it, and you get killed, and you say, oh, I want to do that again. And it says 99 cents to replay. How often would you play that?
Well, I know this because the quarter-op machines were this, Chris. Back in the day. You died in Pit, and you were like, or Pitfall, and you were like, fine, I'll try it again. Right.
So I can almost recommend this, but if those things are not a bother for you, you will have a phenomenal game in there. But I wish, like you said, it's very similar thoughts to you.
Anyway, it's very interesting. One of the most fun solo experiences I ever had until it wasn't, which is a weird combo. So that's Kingdom Legacy, Feudal Kingdom. I'm Tom Vassell.
And I'm Chris Yee.
See you next time. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.